Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. How is everyone doing this evening? Happy Tuesday, everyone. Welcome back to the One Man Low Council, and welcome to episode 175 of the Welcome to Asgard podcast. Thank you very much for being here. It has been a crazy time here in Asgard because obviously the school year has fully started back. We are now in our third full day of school. We just finished today, and so far, so good. Things are going well. Obviously, the mask situation is definitely not ideal. However, I am now breathing more easily, which is definitely a major plus than I was on Friday, when by the end of the day, I was just on the brink of just death because of how tired I was. But things are indeed getting just a little bit better. And to start us off, Riff Magos has already donated. So thank you very much, Riff Magos, for the $10 donation via Streamlabs. So thank you very much for that direct donation. Riff Magos, big supporter of the channel, says, "Hey, Odin, I hope today finds you well. Your content is always appreciated." Well, Riff Magos, thank you very much, man. I do appreciate that, and I do want to apologize for the lack of content on the channel recently. Really, I've not been making any videos, any main videos for the channel, really since Saturday. When I did the last stream, really. And a lot of it is just I'm busy with school. Obviously, once school starts, especially at the very beginning of the year, we have a lot of things to do, a lot of things to focus on. So that always takes kind of the fullness of my attention. Obviously, Baby Thor is also edging closer and closer. And also, I think with everything that we're being asked to do, more so than ever before as teachers, is definitely tiring me out more than ever before as well. So I get home, and normally, what I did last year was I'd get home, find something to talk about, right? Find an article, see what was on Bounding into Comics, see if anything was on Deadline, and then I would just start talking, right? I'd see, oh, this interests me, and I'd start talking about it, and some people would like it, some people wouldn't. And normally that was my way of going about things. And this year I get home and I say, all right, I need to go downstairs and watch TV and just relax. Mostly my routine has been, all right, let me take a couple Tylenol because I'm in pain. I'm a little sore. And let me go ahead and watch some Big Bang Theory, because now I'm actually in season 12 of Big Bang Theory on HBO Max. I've just been binge watching it because it's like this comfort food where, yeah, it went on for way too long. Yeah, it was funnier in the beginning. Yeah, there's a lot of repetition. But overall, it's just that thing that can be on, and I can half pay attention to it, half not, and still be able to overall enjoy. But let's go ahead and say hello to everyone in the chat before getting into any of the main things that we're going to talk about this evening, which include the Paramount decrees falling, which is actually bigger news than what you would expect. I'm surprised it hasn't gotten more attention. I'm sure that Tina knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say the Paramount decrees, how that relates to the future of cinema, and then towards the end, right, more of an open forum type setting. So anyway, let's go ahead and say hello to some people. So let's start over with my D-Live fam, since it's a little bit more chill over there right now. We got Captain Mr. Roy. Mr. Peabody is there as well. Philly the Hobbit is saying hello, hello, hello. Captain ZK-Man is over there as well. And of course, they're all dropping amazing gifts over there. One including the What's Up one, which again was hilarious back in its time. And also something from Django Unchained. So I do appreciate those gifts that y'all drop over. My D-Live fam, hopefully y'all are doing well. Now jumping over back to YouTube, where Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, was indeed the first person in the chat at 5:52 p.m. Woo, that's early, Father. Mr. Peabody, who's a member on the channel, was there as well. Lord Toth was here. What's going on, Lord Toth? Waiting for Nerdrotic. Laura, how is it going? Dean approved. How's it going, good sir? Says, I'm releasing my review on Firefly, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on the sci-fi western. I love it. One of my favorite shows of all time. I know that you had seen, Mr. Peabody, I believe, said to ask me about my mouse pad. My mouse pad is the Serenity. So it actually is the Serenity. So huge shout out has to go to Darkstar57, who sent it to me. And I love it. I've been using it for months and months and months, and I always love looking down and seeing the Serenity as my mouse pad. But yeah, it's a great show. Really one of the most underrated shows of all time. Canceled way before its time for sure. And I think and hope, or rather, I really wish this is the more accurate one. Yeah, I really wish we could have gotten more seasons of the show. Again, the movie was great, but I would rather have had more seasons of the show than the movie if I could choose between the two. Nana Reaper, who's a member, what is going on, says, well, at a certain point, a certain part committed a kamikaze of its platform today. Ooh, how is that? Orange Hat Reviews is a member on the channel. What's going on? Orange Hat Reviews says, hello, hello. How are we all? It is such a weird day, but still awesome. Congratulations, by the way. I saw on Twitter that you had mentioned that you're going to be an uncle. So congratulations on that, Uncle Orange Hat Reviews. Father Christopher Miller says, if I time this right, the Maury, you are not the father clip will end just as the stream begins. Well, hopefully that indeed happened for you, because it's always good to have those things timed out that way. We got Bruce in the chat, who's a member on the channel. What's going on? Bruce Peabody, who's a member, says, Odin has been busy pushing the sun across the sky so I could get some sunlight down here, down in Australia. Yeah, that's right, because Peabody is that 12 hours ahead schedule. So right now, it's at that time, rather, it was 6:55 a.m. where he is on a Wednesday. We are still on a Tuesday. But hopefully you're doing well, Mr. Peabody. Glad to see you here. As always, GMonkey76, Blake Hemlow in the chat, Golden Ration here, JWTFA, what's going on? Zachariah315, JKDBuck76, Tina Beam, one of my Valks, the Empress of the Universe, telling everyone to stay in line, which was hilarious because Alex McCarthy broke the rule. He double posted. That's a big nay-nay, Alex McCarthy. You double posted about your darn pizza. You had to put the pizza comment in there, and you had to put it twice. How dare you? But Alex McCarthy is indeed a member on the channel. He says, howdy, Odin, how's it going? Pizza update and news? Well, haven't had any pizza last couple days. So there's the pizza update. And as far as news goes, we'll get to the news once I get through everybody up here. HyperNext13 tagged me and says, hello, everyone. Hello, brother. What's going on? What's going on, HyperNext13? Hope you are doing well. JKD Buck tagged me, and of course, as soon as I get to that comment, the chat jumps on me like it always does. That darn chat. That darn chat. He says, on a scale of 0 to 10, how epic would you rate your own beard? I don't really like to self-rate as far as beards are concerned, but I would say it's above average. Scott Ross, what's going on, good sir? Glad to see that name in the chat. Robert Frey in the chat. Soul Assassin is here. Estelin Burkholder, what's going on? That's a new name. Orange Hat Reviews says, so Odin just found out today that my brother and his girlfriend are having a little girl, and I'm going to be an uncle twice over. There you go. Zachariah315, howdy, howdy, howdy. How is it going? How is it going? JKD Buck tagged me and says, you need a can of Perrier like President Scroob had in Spaceballs. Yeah, seriously. That actually would be a great thing to have during this time. Us teachers could just, fresh air, that would be wonderful. That would be fantastic. I would love to have that. Alice McCarthy's a member says, get a haircut, young fella. You look like a hippie with such long hair. Yeah, I know. I was going to try and get a haircut this past weekend. I was going to do the bald look once again just because it's just very comfortable with the heat going on right now. And I was going to try and get a beard trim, but weekend got away from me because it just, again, crazy, 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 crazy. Blake Hemlow tagged me and says, I just want to stop by really quick and say things are going well behind the scenes for my animated series and that I will deliver on a quality product. Got to get back to work on it. Well, good luck, Blake, with that. Super Anime Gamer tagged me. What's going on, good sir? Says, hey, what is up, my dude? What is going on? Waiting for Nerdrotic tag me and says, when I fell in the shower like Penny from Big Bang, the fam got me a bunch of adhesive ducks. I got so much crap. Nice. Hardwick Bentho says, did you see the link I DM'd you about a federal judicial ruling that might lead to studios owning theaters again? Well, if you saw in the tag of this video, you would see that we're talking about the Paramount decrees today. HyperNext13, hey Odin, do you do a lot of walking in your school? I walked a total of 8 hours today. Legs feel so sore. So yeah, I do a lot of, I guess pacing would be a more accurate term for it. I like to walk around my classroom because it keeps me active, and I get usually around at least 10,000 steps when I'm teaching. So normally 10,000 at least per day. When I'm teaching. Today, I think I got almost to 10,000 because I did have at least one off period today, which was nice. So I was teaching for 4 instead of the usual 5 on a day like this. But yeah, lots of walking. Lots of walking. Perry Chan, I see you in the chat. What's going on, Perry Chan? I hope you're doing swell. Good sir. Make sure you're subbed to Perry Chan because his videos are awesome. Always love to see your work, good sir. Smatter Effect, what's going on? Great name right there. See, Sergeant Politeness. What's going on, Sergeant Politeness? Glad to see that name here. Waiting for Nadrata to tag me and says, I would like to recommend Wynonna Earp. Kind of like Supernatural as a Western, 4 seasons filmed, has a Buffy vibe. Yeah, but you know what? I thought I heard something about it being kind of in that woke territory, because obviously you think you're, obviously it's, I guess, right? I really don't know much about the series, but isn't it kind of a play on is it a female twist on the same story? I don't know. That's just always the perspective that I got. Nana Reaper says, party, not part. What? What were you trying to say there? I didn't quite get to it. Didn't quite understand it. Let me see if I can find it again. Party, not part. Interesting. Hardwick tagged me and says, have you watched Stargirl? I assumed it would be bad, but have been hearing good things about it. Apparently, Jeff Johns is overseeing it himself to make sure they get it right. Yeah, I've mentioned this on Friday Night Tights before, because obviously as from Heel versus Babyface, he's been doing a coverage of the entire series, and I've been watching along. I've been watching all the episodes too, and for the most part, it's great. Really, there was one episode that I wasn't a huge fan of. It just kind of went off in a weird direction. But for the most part, it's been pretty solid. I mean, the acting's been fine for what it is. Obviously it's, young adults playing high schoolers, and you can only really do so much with it. But for the most part, yeah, it's been pretty solid. It is sad, though, because I didn't know that this was a DC show. It was a DC Universe show. And now apparently season 2 is going to be officially a CW show. So my hope is that it switching to the CW officially for season 2 does not lead to it falling like every other DC show that's ever aired on the CW, where it starts off strong and then it just falls off a cliff. Keely Chow, I see you in the chat. What's going on? Glad to see you here. Alex McCarthy says, I did. That must have been YouTube, because I never double post. Well, the record says differently, good sir. The record says differently. Tina, thank you very much for reminding everybody, if you have a comment or question and you don't feel like super chatting or donating via Streamlabs, which is fine, make sure you put Odin question, all one word, Odin question. It'll highlight orange on my screen, and that'll let me know that you are trying to get my attention. That is how it works around here. Nathan Slay tagged me and says, what's up, dude? Watched Batman Mask of the Phantasm last night, and now think Mark Hamill is one of the greatest Jokers ever. Yeah, we watched that as one of our Asgardian movie mornings over the summer, and it had been a movie I thought I had never seen, and then as I was watching it, realized, wait a minute, some of this stuff is familiar. And I realized probably when I was a kid, I had seen it at some point and just thought it was a long episode of Batman. That's basically how it feels. It feels just like a long episode of the animated series, the classic series from the 90s. And yeah, it's fantastic. And obviously Mark Hamill's Joker is iconic, right? Mark Lazarth, I see you in here. What's going on, Mark Lazarth? Glad to see you in the chat. All right, let us see where we left off today. And also, we got 71 people. Please smash that like button, please. It would really mean a lot. Thank you very much. All right, let me jump back over to DLive, and then we'll talk about our first bit of the story today. Peabody, thank you for telling them how to contact me over on DLive, though something tells me, and I suspect that there might be something nefarious afoot with that. And I know Peabody, with the axe over there on DLive, is going to keep his eye on anyone that tries to follow just so they can spam the chat with nonsense. But DLive fam, thank y'all very much for being here. Only 5 people on DLive, which is less than it normally is. But again, my DLive fam is special. But as I said, we're going to be talking about a couple things tonight. One of them is the fact that, and again, this is kind of a bit of news that's kind of gone under the radar a little bit. So this is being reported from Deadline, and this was from August 7th. It says, with exhibition on the brink, Paramount decree topples. And for those that are not aware, Deadline has the explanation here. Exhibition hasn't been this pressured in a century. When the 1918 Spanish flu shuttered theaters, many permanently, studios saw an opportunity and snapped them up, ruling the business until the Paramount decrees in 1948, which broke them up. So that's what we mean when we say the Paramount decrees. So basically, when 1918 hit, right, when the last one of the last big pandemics hit us, right? I don't remember everything shutting down. But then again, I wasn't alive back then, so to say I remember is kind of a silly thing to say in the first place. However, it's interesting because, again, all these theaters that were forced to shut down because of business were bought up by Hollywood studios. And then they bought up all the studios bought up all of the movie theaters. And you saw that there was this very tight connection for a period of around 30 years or so, until eventually they were broken up in the 1940s, obviously citing various parts of, antitrust laws, right? Violations of antitrust laws. So it's interesting because apparently since 1948, keep in mind, so more than 70 years ago, that has been the case, where movie theaters, movie chains could not be owned by the actual studios themselves. Now, there's been a couple exceptions along the way. If you go to California, for instance, there's theaters that are associated with things like Disney, for instance, but usually it's more of they don't show movies all the time. It's more of a special occasions type. Again, it's more of an experience than it is an actual general movie theater. But what's interesting, though, is that all of that has now apparently gone out the window because of a case recently. And it says here that the landscape is very different, and a handful of major studios, or rather a handful of Hollywood majors, including Disney and New Royalty like Netflix and Amazon, were exempt from the rule anyways. So basically that there have been exemptions to this policy since the 1940s, but as a general principle, movie chains especially were not allowed to be owned by studios. But that's ironic that the ruling by U.S. District Judge Annalisa Torres of the Southern District of New York hit as the nation endures another massive health crisis that's squeezing exhibition. PVOD is arguably tipping the balance towards studios as Wall Street and big credit rating agencies struggles to assess milestones like AMC's deal with Universal and Disney's decision to release Mulan directly to Disney+. So again, this was a ruling by a U.S. District Judge, and that's the reason why I think I originally, when I saw the news story come about, really didn't think that much of it, because it just seems odd to me that you have basically a law and a ruling coming into play, right? The Paramount decrees breaking up the theater chains, rather breaking up the monopoly that the studios had on the theater chains back in the 1940s, and that a random U.S. district judge, that one ruling can somehow do away with all of that, right? 70 years of that being essentially the standard, right? The legal standard is somehow just done away. Something tells me that you could potentially see this case be brought up again in other courts, maybe even higher courts, because I just feel like something this large, especially when it comes to antitrust violations, probably shouldn't be decided on by a district judge. Probably should be decided on a bit of a higher court, right? I feel like maybe the Supreme Court at some point along the way, but I guess it depends on if anyone is going to try and fight against the ruling. Because if no one's going to fight against the ruling, then the ruling, I assume, then would stand. I don't really know where this specific district court and district judge falls in the chain of command, but yeah, still fascinating nonetheless. So the Paramount decrees apparently have fallen, at least according to Deadline here. Again, I still have, again, some reservations because I just don't really know how much power one single judge can really have in this case. But it is interesting to hear, though, that, again, since the 1940s, we've seen major studios not get involved really with a lot of the theaters overall as far as being able to own them in any major way. And that if this indeed does signal the end of this specific law, right, or these specific decrees, that you could potentially see, especially with chains like AMC struggling, Regal struggling, potentially see studios say, all right, we're going to go ahead and buy up some of your theaters and have exclusive Fox theaters or exclusive Disney, right? Because Disney owns Fox. They're not going to call it Fox because obviously they, for some reason, don't want to be involved with them whatsoever as far as the name is concerned. But it is, again, something that I never thought I would see because it always seemed to just make a lot of sense to me, right? That, no, you have them already, Disney and all the other studios, already are in charge of the production of the movies, right? They're in charge of, promoting the films, right? Getting everything ready. To put them then and allow them to, in a much larger way than they already have, right? A handful of theaters or a random theater here or there in California, I don't think really violates it. But to now kind of pave the way for potentially them buying up chains or buying up a large number of theaters, I don't know. I would say nay to that. And I really hope that this isn't indeed the case, because even though some could argue, but what if it is the thing that needs to happen to save movie theaters? I don't think creating an antitrust situation is the way to go about doing it. That's just, again, my own personal take on that. What say you? So again, according to this, the Paramount decrees have fallen. However, it's one district judge making this ruling. Something tells me that it's going to come up at some point again. But anyway, those are my quick thoughts on that. Let's go ahead and get back to the YouTube chat. So at 7:10 in the YouTube chat, 7:19 right now, so I'm about 9 minutes behind or so. Mark Lazur says, "Do you want Perry Chan to make you Arnold Schwarzenegger in the kindergarten cop clip?" Gary says, "Boys," yes, the line from Kindergarten Cop, and you say, "Thanks for the tip." If he wants to put me in, that's totally up to him. Again, Perry Chan is awesome, and his judgment's usually pretty good. Alice McCarthy, who's a member, says, "I thought the same about Winona Earp, was wrong. It's a damn good show, not woke." Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm definitely looking for some more stuff to watch because I was getting excited because I finally watched season 1 of The Boys. And obviously it has a lot of imperfections and it focuses on, things that, everyone who's been watching me for a while knows just bothers me on a base level. But it also had some really cool story elements to it as well. So I was really excited to watch season 2, and now the creator of it has gone off on a random tirade about race, and it's just, oh man, why do you have to always ruin shows or ruin my desire to support your show with stuff like that? So I probably still end up watching it because as long as the show isn't impacted by it, then I might be okay, but I don't know. What say you? Anyone that maybe has watched the show before. Nana Reaper, as a member, says, "I was giving context to my previous comment." Gotcha. Well, you know that I need context in the entire comment to understand context from a previous comment. Keely Chow says, "Have you watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? If so, are you ready for the 2-hour series finale?" Nope. I watched it for about a season or two, kind of lost interest. Most people I trust said that it kind of went off a cliff. Others say it kind of went off and then it came back and then it was really awesome, or that it was always awesome. I don't know. It's one of those shows that I might try and catch up on and start watching again, especially once I finish things like Big Bang Theory. It's a good thing just to have something that I can go to kind of detox at the end of a long day. So maybe I'll start watching it again, but it's not really at the top of my list of things to find. Jedi Starship, long time I feel like since I've seen you in the chat. What's going on, man? Says, "When can we expect you to cosplay or Halloween costume Prince Voltan?" Probably never. There's just something about Brian Blessed, right? Brian Blessed just fits it so well. I could never, ever hope to ever achieve what he was able to. But again, if it's just me saying things like "dive," I can do that. But as far as like cosplaying goes, nah. That's just not me. As a matter of fact, 7-Eleven says, "Thank you for the tag," says, "Do you think DC will be sold or will it just be gutted and turned into a TV and film division?" It really is hard to say because, as you all know, I'm not a huge follower of comics in general. Really, it's not my forte. But I feel like if you were going to be losing money, right, if the comics division is you see that play on words there, the comics division, shout out to comics division, fellow host on Friday Night Tights. But I feel like if you were going to be in the position where you were going to be losing money and you were going to be bleeding money, essentially, which it seems like the comics division is, then yeah, I mean, you might need to take the characters and sell them off. Maybe sell off one of your characters. Marvel kind of did that, right, when they sold the rights to Spider-Man to Sony. And now Sony's never giving up those rights. So it would be interesting to see if DC, maybe to try and save some face or stay alive a little longer, took maybe not their biggest name, but maybe a big name and said, "Hey, any studios want to get exclusive rights to this?" Now, I don't think that's necessarily a good idea because look at what Sony's been doing with Spider-Man, right? There's been, 3 different versions of Spider-Man in just a 10-year period or so. But hey, maybe it could be enough to keep them going, at least for a little bit, Batmanuel, what's going on? Glad to see you in the chat. Of course, now the chat has jumped on me, so let's see if, indeed, I have been able to... I think I am not. Cool. Looks like no comments have been skipped. That's kind of nice. For a change, to not have comments get skipped. Always nice to see that happen. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Nope. Nothing got skipped. That's good to see. Let me go over to D-Live for a second to see if anything happened over there. Mr. Peabody tagged me and says, well, he has been quiet so far. Yes, for now. As someone, as Philly the Hobbit post a creepy Joe Biden sniffing someone say, so creepy. So creepy. By the way, if you follow me on Twitter, please don't think any of my tweets or retweets are endorsements of any kind. or a insight into my own political philosophy. As many of you know, I'm very much an independent thinker, right? I'm a Catholic first. That's kind of my primary mindset. And so that is where my heart is. So I step back every election cycle and say, okay, who's the one that aligns most with my values? And usually it's not any of the major parties. So I have a feeling that the same thing's going to happen again this year. JKD Buck, what's going on over on D-Live? Whoa, D-Live fam, man. And thank you for the lemon donation, JKD Buck. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, let me jump back over to YouTube now. It's 712 over there. Sasha Neon says, yeah, Winona Earp is made by IDW Publishing, which has gone full woke and thus full broke. They ruin Hasbro properties like G.I. Joe, Transformers, etc. with their nonsense skip it. Okay, so we've got some differing opinions on that. But I'm wondering if you're thinking of Winona Earp as far as you said IDW Publishing, so maybe it's a comic and maybe the comic is that way. Maybe the show's different. I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I really can't say one way or the other, but looks like there's some disagreements in the chat. I always like to see disagreements and healthy discussion to find the truth, because usually truth is somewhere in the middle. Andrew Hoyle is a member on the channel, says, hey, everyone, I'm only 15 minutes late. Yes, but you're still late, so go get a note. Simple as that. Simple as that, Andrew Hoyle. But thank you very much, man, for being a member on the channel. Hardwood tagged me and says, I hope that Jeff Johns stays in charge of Stargirl. He apparently demanded to be in charge of the show because he based Stargirl in the comics on his dead sister as a tribute to her. Well, if there's that kind of personal connection, then yeah, I can't imagine why he would leave the show. Or if he did leave the show, that he wouldn't leave it in capable hands. Obviously, hopefully he's seen what the CW has done to other DC properties, and he decides, yeah, you know what? I don't want you to mess this up because this is a very personal matter, so I'm going to stay attached. But then again, you know, creators and showrunners don't usually have or don't always have full creative control, right? If a studio comes in and says, oh, we want a different direction, or causes havoc for the creator, then the creator could leave. You know, even if it is something personal. That's one of the kind of the bad things when it comes to these things, is that a studio can come in at any point and say, yeah, you know what? We want a different direction, and you're gone. It's sad. Waiting for Nerdronic says, Winona Earp has a female lead who is a direct descendant of Wyatt Earp. She is like a Buffy chosen one who fights demons, vampires, etc. with a badass gun. My favorite character is Officer Hoyt? Is that? I don't know how to pronounce that name. That sounds fun, though. It definitely has that. It seems, just that basic description, very much like Buffy. So yeah, I mean, the fact that it's 4 seasons on, maybe that's something worth looking into. And it looks like I've got at least a couple people saying that it's not on the woke side of things as far as the show goes. So might have to give it a shot. Nathan Slay says, I liked Mask of the Phantasm, was good but didn't love it. I'm a person who didn't grow up watching the show, so that might explain it. It could. Again, obviously, it's an animated 90s movie, which to me still holds up, but not for everyone. You know, there's certain things about that animation style that might not hold up for everyone. I think it's a great story. Is it my favorite Batman story of all time? No. But is it a good one? Yes. So it's one of those things where it's not my favorites of all time, but it's still a lot of fun. Still a lot of fun. CWD Trixie, what's going on? Glad to see you in the chat. 13th Warrior is here as well. Tina B, thank you again for being here and putting everything down there. I appreciate you so very, very much. Nathan Slay tagged me and says, if the stream gets cut off again, you can blame Brie Larson. Nah. Even I wouldn't go so low as to blame her, because let's be honest, I try and be as straightforward as I can. And based on last week, or the last stream that we had, it seemed to be an issue with I keep going with Streamlabs. It seemed to be an issue with Restream, because the fact that I had an issue both on DLive and also on the YouTube channel seems to indicate then that it must be coming from that specific source. So it was probably a Restream issue more so than anything else. So we still got 85 people in here. Smash that like button, please. And thank you very much for being here. Andrew Hoyle tagged me He's a member as well. He says, what do you think of the new trailer for Raised by Wolves? Haven't seen it, so I have no thoughts on it yet. Tell me more, tell me more. Orange Hat Reviews, a member, says, movies need to reopen. Yes, with the safety measures, the need is paramount. I see what you did there, Orange Hat Reviews. And I agree. What is interesting, though, is that tickets have now officially been allowed to be put on sale at the movie theater chains for New Mutants. So if that is to be believed, then New Mutants could potentially be the first new movie that we get, which is kind of funny because it's a movie I still don't believe exists because it was supposed to come out in 2018. It's been shuffled around for 2+ years now. And I honestly just still don't believe that it's going to come out. Until it's actually in theaters and I'm actually watching it, I don't believe that it's there, right? I don't believe that it exists. I need some hard proof and hard evidence, which is the actual film itself being released, before I believe anything. Gigamus Prime, what's going on? How is it going? There's no need for me to catch you up with what we're talking about because it's always in the title. It's always in the title, bro. Soul Assassin. So what's this about Disney halting all 4K Blu-ray production of Fox movies? Yeah, man, it's crazy. So as you all know, I follow a great YouTube channel called Films at Home. I was trying to get him on a podcast episode, but summer ended, and that has kind of just made everything crazier. But he actually covered this, and when he's covering it, again, he takes everything from a apolitical standpoint, right? It's always, let's talk about the quality of the transfer. Let's talk about the 4K edition of the film. He always goes into the video, audio quality. Never really talks about opinions on the movie itself. Sometimes he'll throw that in there, but usually it's, even if it's a bad movie, he says it's a good transfer, right? That's his kind of his shtick is focusing on the quality that of the studios and what they're putting out. So for him to bring this up and to bring up the fact that Disney is indeed basically trying to kill 4K, because when you're saying, yeah, you know, all those classic Fox movies, yeah, you're not going to get 4K editions of them ever. That's a pretty big statement, or you're never going to get, as far as physical media goes, 4K Blu-rays of those movies. Yeah, that's not good at all. That's a clear attack on physical media, and I cannot say I'm surprised that it's Disney that's doing that, right? Disney wants everything to be behind their paywall. They want everything that they own to be behind the Disney Plus. They want to be able to go in whenever they want and change things, right, on a whim. They're still going to put out eventually, right, 4K editions, 4K transfers of a digital sort, but why would they want to put the effort and money behind putting out a 4K render for the first time of a classic movie that you can then buy and own forever, and then they can't change it whenever they want to because it's politically expedient for them? Why would they want to do that? It actually doesn't surprise me that much that Disney's the one doing that. That being said, it is sad. I think that it is a huge blow to physical media because Disney is, regardless of your thoughts on Disney, they're a big company. Just Joe 47, what's going on? Glad to see you in the chat. Ducks, thank you for following me over on Twitch. Since the summer schedule is over, I don't know when I'll be on Twitch again, but thank you for the follow anyway. I appreciate it. Super Anime Gamer says, fallen under the radar, no kidding. Just found out about this today. If there were any question about the state of American capitalism and the monopolization of entertainment, whoo, lad, yeah, pretty much. This is all coming to the forefront now, and it is becoming very clear that when it comes to the business and government relationship, crony capitalism, as we like to call it, is very much alive and well. And crony capitalism, for anyone that's not playing, is not a good thing. Oh, lordy. 13th Warrior, thanks for tagging me, says, I saw an article about a Fresh Prince reboot as a gritty drama. Thoughts? What? No. That's no. Don't even say Fresh Prince at that point, because that's not the point of that show. I didn't even watch the show a whole lot. I watched maybe a couple episodes when I was younger, but I know enough about the show to know gritty drama ain't it. So if that's the direction they're going to want to go in, yeah, don't. Just leave it be. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. HyperX13 tag me and says, The Boys is like a mixed bag for me. I like how it doesn't take itself seriously, but then you have real world issues implemented into it. Love Homelander's character, though. Yeah, I mean, I think you put it right. There's a lot of mixed bag stuff in there, and I think for the most part, it hits it right. think for the most part it does it right. But yeah, there's a couple episodes where, obviously it's very much on the nose with what they're trying to push, with the agendas they're trying to get out there. Other times, though, I think that it has some good writing. Again, Homelander's character arc, especially when you see that last episode, you're like, oh man, this is an interesting character arc to say the least. And also, he's terrifying. Sasha Neon tagged me and says, maybe Lock and Key, Dark, or Umbrella Academy are your speed. Otherwise, you might have to go retro. No school like old school after all. Yeah, I mean, obviously, old school is always going to be the best school. But actually, I have watched Umbrella Academy because Gary kept talking about it. I put it off for a long time because I am just not a huge Ellen Page fan. Just her acting or her personal life, it just bothers me. It's just annoying. So I kind of put it off because I didn't want to deal with her. Finally, I gave in because Gary from Nerdrotic just kept talking about it. And so I was like, all right, let me go ahead and watch it. Season 1, fantastic. Brilliant show. So good. The young actor that plays 5, I mean, that's not like the Emmys matter anymore, but if the Emmys meant anything, you know what he would do? He would be nominated for Best Performance because he's awesome. The young actor that plays 5 is fantastic. So good. Season 2 of Umbrella Academy, there's parts I love, and then there's parts that I hate, specifically when they get caught up in the 1960s politics. I think that was a terrible decision for them to get focused on the 1960s crap, and Ellen Page's character gets very, very annoying very, very, very quickly. So, yeah. I have not seen Lock and Key. I've not seen Dark. The reason why I've held off on Dark is because it is foreign language, and again, if it's a slower pace, let me know, because I can deal with slow pace subtitles. I know there's an option that you could have it be dubbed in English, but I try to avoid those when I can because I like to be able to, see the expressions the actors have and hear their actual voices. It's just more authentic that way. But it's harder for me to do that, especially with my ADD, when it's a lot faster. Sometimes that can just give me a headache because it means I can't pay attention to what's going on. Bear Business 1, thank you for the $10 super chat. So that's the first time I've seen the name here. Thank you very much for the super chat. Says, alleged movie blog haver. I doubt it. Thanks for the content. Well, thank you very much, Bear Business 1. Yes, indeed. Alleged movie blog. Not lately, especially. I've been very, very light on content, but again, school year started up, so it's just slowed things down a bit. But thank you very much for the super chat, man, and thank you very much for the kind words. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, I think I've caught up on that. Bruce, who's a member, says, I gave up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. around the same time Ghost Rider showed up. Really? Ghost Rider showed up? I had no idea. Spoilers! Like I care. Andrew Hoyle says, dive! Indeed. Super Anime Gamer, wait. Garth Ennis went off on a tirade? Or the artist? And I do fear for The Boys Season 2. Even as someone who has never watched Reddit, I know Stormfront can't be motor or female. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know much about the comics, so I can't really speak to that specifically. I think, though, it was Eric Kripke. He's the one that's the showrunner behind that. It was Eric Kripke, I believe, who was the one that made the comments that way. Cool Pikachu. Thank you very much for the $2 super chat, good sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Says, what movie do you think did woke in a good way? I don't think any film or TV show can ever do woke well. The whole mindset of going woke is let us take something and add it to a show or movie that has no relevancy to the original material, if it's something that's based off of something else, or it's a film that's original that's decided, hey, we're going to try and drag you in and bring you in with maybe a trailer or a concept in a fictional universe, but then what we're going to do is we're going to add modern day identity politics inside of it and try and, get a fast one by you, right? So I don't think that the whole concept of going woke, I don't think can ever be done well, just by its very nature. So, but thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. All right, back to the main one, Omega Jeremy. That's all I'm going to say, because way too long of a name, Omega Jeremy. Hail Odin, how's life? Life is as good as it can be. Good sir. Living the dream, as they say. Living the dream, my friend. Don't know what I was singing, but I was singing something. Thank you very much for being here, though. Chat has jumped on me like it usually does. So thank you again for being here. Smash that like button, please. It means a lot. It means a lot. Alrighty, it looks like no comments were skipped, so thank the Lord for that, but we're definitely getting there. Nathan Slay says, I don't know why, but I actually think Groundhog Day is one of the best comedies of all time. I just love subtlety humor. It's fantastic. Speaking of Groundhog Day, there's a newer film that just came out on Hulu called Palm Springs. Don't watch it. It's just not good. It's basically, it takes the Groundhog Day trope and then adds nihilism. And it's just sad. It's just really, really sad. Because when the characters don't think that life has meaning, it's like, well, I don't know. You're dragging me down, man. I don't want to watch that. It's just not my cup of tea. All right, let me jump back over to D-Live and catch up with my peeps over there. Philly the Hobbit says, your thoughts on Tron 3 Disney upcoming sequel? I saw the people attached to it, and based on the last Tron movie, I personally just have no interest. That's just me, though. If you're someone that likes Tron and you like the Tron universe, hey, if you're happy, I'm glad you're happy. For me, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, doesn't really have me excited, personally. Cam Dean Heiss is over on D-Live now, says, hey, Loden, just getting here. Not going to ask what I missed, because you'll just say a lot. Yep, usually it's a lot. Usually it is, indeed, a lot, for sure. All right, caught up everything over there. All right, Hardwick tagged me at 7:24 in the chat, so it's 7:40 in real life where I am. So, again, about 15 minutes behind, like usual. And he says this, I've heard that the 1948 antitrust ruling is what led to theaters becoming too expensive. When studios owned theaters, tickets were cheap, and they didn't have to overcharge on snacks. Yeah, I mean, there's probably a lot of things that led to that. The reason why, and here's the thing, is that I feel like a lot of the blame there for... I don't know where you read that. A lot of the blame then is being put onto the theaters themselves. But think about it. When the studios broke away from the theaters, it meant that the theaters had to start making deals with the studios to get the movies. And so that's probably where you found the origins of the studios saying, hey, we want the vast majority of the profits, even though you're the ones that we need to show our movies. And so my guess is that because that's where the studios started off, asking for more than they deserved, that's probably what led to that whole, 90% the first 2 weekends, which is the only reason why you have this huge influx and this huge markup on popcorn and soft drink prices, and why you've seen it consistently grow over the years. Because, as I said, the studios get a huge portion of that box office money, especially in those first couple weekends. Theaters got to make money somehow. And the only way they can really do that is, of course, by charging concession prices. So, yeah, I would say that wherever you heard that or wherever you read that is way too much on the studio side. Because, yeah, we can be mad at theaters for charging so much, but you also have to understand why they usually do charge that much. Nathan Slay tagged me and said, where do Ghostbusters rank on your list of comedies? Again, I don't really have any official list going for comedies, but Ghostbusters is a great film. 70B's in the chat at 7:25. Heyo, Stephanie B. Glad to see my General Valk here. Thank you for joining. Waiting for Nerdrotic says, do you have an all-region Blu-ray player? So, officially, I don't think so. Officially, the one I have in my entertainment center is region locked, I think. Or it's one where you can change it only so many times. The one I have in my computer that Mr. Roy sent me up with, I think also is technically region locked. However, there's software programs that I can use where it doesn't matter if it's region locked or not. I can essentially unlock it in digital form at the very least. So I don't know if you were thinking of sending something my way or not. But yeah, region shouldn't matter for the player that I have. Buck in the chat. What's going on, Buck? Cobra Viper 999. I think I've said hi to you, but just in case I haven't, hello. Waiting for the drag tag me again says Office. Pronounced hot. Okay, Officer Hot. Gotcha. Omega Jeremy says, shows and movies may be woke these days, but I'll find my salvation in the past by watching as many shows from the 70s, 80s, 90s. I'm thinking about watching Beetleborgs. Beetleborgs? I've never heard of Beetleborgs before. But yeah, there are some good shows from the early 2000s, 2010s, etc. there are still good shows coming out. They're much rarer now, right? They're much rarer now. I will definitely give that much, right? That it's something that does still happen and exist. We may not think that we see it as much. We may not realize that there are still good shows coming out, but not everything is bad. Not everything is woke. It's that same mindset where people, I see this in my comment section a lot. Whenever I talk about defending movie theaters or how I want to be able to go back to the movies, they say, oh, it should all burn and die. And I'm like, not everything is bad. Not everything that comes out is woke. Not everything that comes out is terrible. There's good movies that still come out every single year, right? There's still solid writing going on. There's still solid cinematography, direction. So why would I want it all to burn and die if there's still exceptions, right? If there's still good things indeed coming out. I'll admit that we're getting more and more politics being thrown into our movies, but not completely. Final film comment. I see that as a new name. Welcome to the chat. 70B says, oh, hi, I was tardy, but I made it. Well, I'm just glad to see you here, Stephanie B. AFK Bard, what's going on, girl? How is it going? Harwick says, I highly recommend the Canadian mystery show Cardinal, starring Billy Campbell. It's atmospheric, gripping, and unusually realistic. The villains are always infuriatingly wicked. Okay. I probably won't remember that. I don't have things to write down. And again, there's already too many. I'm running out of things to watch right now, but then there's also so many things that people have recommended to me just on this one stream alone. OMB Reviews, who's a member of the channel, says, Odin, I remember you saw Christopher Reeve's Superman. I was wondering if you noticed at the end of the cat in a tree scene that the mother slaps the child after telling her to stop telling lies. Yep. Yes, I did. I do. But that, of course, is the smallest problem with that Superman movie, with the ending. Let's not bring the ending up, please. Mark Lizard, thanks for the tag, says, Raised by Wolves is an alien or robot lady raising kids on an alien planet after the world has been destroyed. Interesting. Raised by Wolves is an alien or robot raising kids on an alien planet after the world's destroyed. Could be good. Could be intriguing at the very least. Dean Approved tagged me and says, what's New Mutants? Very good question. How is New Mutants? Why is New Mutants? All are valid questions. Tina B, I saw the trailer for New Mutants the other night, and I was laughing so hard. I think that trailer has the only scenes that exist. Yeah, also at this point, it would really be appropriate to call them Old Mutants. Because, again, I think the filming happened in, 2017 or so? Maybe into 2018? But it's been delayed for about 2 years as far as its release goes. So a lot of the actors in there don't look anything like they did when they filmed it. It's just crazy. Seth Williams, that's a new name. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Nathan Slay says, so is it true that September 3rd is the day when Tenet is released to theaters? So basically September 3rd is going to be the day it gets released to international audiences, and I believe to select theaters here in the States. So it's not getting a wide release because you need to have all the theaters open to have a wide release, right? But internationally, I believe that is the date that it's getting released. And again, I still don't believe it because it just is constantly changing. Constantly. Seth Williams tagged me and says, would you mind ranking your top 5 most anticipated movies coming out in 2021? Oh, Lord. Everything's been moved around so much. It's just, I couldn't do 5 off the top of my head. Top Gun 2 is a movie I still really want to see. So Top Gun 2, Tenet, I really also want to see. Hopefully that does get released this year. And those are kind of like the 2 at the top. I know I'm probably leaving some out, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, how could you be leaving this out? There are things that I'm excited for, but as far as ones that I really want to see in a movie theater, Top Gun 2 and Tenet. Probably the most anticipated for me. Andrew Hoyle, who's a member and tagged me, says, Raised by Wolves, new sci-fi series by Ridley Scott, starring Travis Fimmel, Ragnar Lothbrok, and looks very interesting in brief voice. Very interesting. So it's a series, not a movie. Who's Ragnar Lothbrok? I don't get that reference. Bruce, who's a member, says Disney needs to hire back people that worked there when everything made was new, not a remake. if any of them are still living. Yeah, that's a big question, is are they even still living at this point? And also, I to be honest, I think Disney, why would they? Look at the remakes. Look at their live action remakes. They're making billions and billions they're making billions of dollars worldwide, which means they're making them hundreds of millions of dollars in just raw net gain revenue. So why would they stop making it? I would love for Disney to stop, and I would love for them to start making, more original programming. But unfortunately, as long as people still spend money on films that don't need to exist, they're going to keep on making them. Simple as that. Nathan Slade tagged and says, speaking of action movies, which is better to you, Aliens, Die Hard, or Terminator 2? I would go T2. I think Terminator 2 is a better action movie. Aliens, close second. Die Hard's great, but T2 and Aliens have just a lot more action, a lot more things going on. So I would rather watch those two in order. And then obviously Die Hard's still great, but you made me choose. Cobra Viper 999. I picked up the Flash Gordon 4K today. Looks great. Nice, Cobra Viper 999. That's awesome. Yeah, someone won it as a giveaway prize earlier in the year, and it hasn't been officially released in the format that it was in the format they wanted, but it's gonna get released. It's gonna get shipped to them within the month, because I think it technically releases in about 9 days, the version that they got. So if you know who you are, if you're the one that won that in a giveaway, then it's gonna be on your way. It's gonna be on your way soon. Hardwick tagged me and says, Brie Larson revealed on YouTube that she auditioned for Terminator Dark Fate. My guess is the role was Grace. Would she have been better or worse than Mackenzie Davis? Doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter at all. I don't take this the wrong way, but I care so little for that question because it has Brie Larson and Terminator Dark Fate. I'm sorry, that's just no. Mark Lazur, what do you think of Zac Efron being in the reboot of Three Men and a Baby? Well, first off, let me just put this out there. Don't remake classics, please. There's no need for it. Please don't do it. That being said, if they're gonna do it, Zac Efron's not a terrible choice. You all know. I like Zac Efron. I think he's a good actor. I think he's solid. I think he's more solid than people give him credit for. And, I think that's a good choice as far as them trying to get people into the seats, because I think there's a lot of people that like Zac Efron, generally speaking. What I'm more interested in is to see who else they get into that cast. Because if Zac Efron's there, something tells me that in 2020, especially, right, in our modern day world, it's probably going to have some more diversity to it. Super says, is Disney still producing Blu-rays for the classics, though? And are they just targeting Fox titles or ceasing production on old Walt Disney ones, too? Based on what I read, it looks like they're just stopping production again on 4K Blu-ray titles, 4K Blu-ray transfers of Fox properties, of classic Fox properties. It could be more, but that is all I personally know of. Andrew Hoyle says, there's no school like the old school. Yes, indeed. Thank you again for being a member on the channel. Always appreciate my members in here. Let's see. Hypernex13 says, are you planning on seeing Dark on Netflix? I want to give it a second try because I'll admit I was biased the first time because of Stranger Things. I talked a little bit about Dark and why I've kind of held off on it for a little bit. Andrew Hoyle, who's a member, says, Dark is pretty slow-paced, but it's the kind of show you need to watch every minute or you'll get lost very quickly. Okay. Well, as long as the subtitles don't move quickly, then I'll be okay. Because, again, it's the subtitles that move very quickly that's when I start to get headache and lost. Omega Jeremy says, I wish I had shows and movies to recommend for you to watch on Netflix, but all I'm watching these days is mostly Power Rangers unless you're into that. Yeah, not really. I like classic, like the original series. Everything after that, just I have no interest in, no desire to watch. That being said, though, it does remind me, I did watch a new movie recently. I watched Ip Man 4, so the last of the Ip Man movies, and it has the same issues that all the Ip Man films have, where very cheesy moments. This one is set more so in America, and it's set during a time in history, and it definitely portrays, racism in a very interesting light, and I'll just leave it at that. So, being a movie that is, very much funded by China, it doesn't surprise me that all their films seem to have like a very pro-China, very pro-nationalist message, but I still like parts of it because Donnie Yen is so compelling, and also the action scenes are great. So I think that all of them are good and bad for different reasons, but I have seen that recently. So I did watch the fourth Ip Man movie. Dean Approved tagged me and says, I'll save you some time on Lock and Key. Wouldn't recommend. Not Dean Approved. Dark introduces the villain as religious, which I personally did not care for. Interesting. Golden Ration says, best woke movie equals Matrix. Yeah. And here's the thing, though. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. This whole trying to rewrite what the Matrix means. Yeah, the Matrix is not a woke movie. They're trying to turn it into one posthumously, right? They're trying to do so after the fact, and it's complete rubbish. It's complete rubbish. The Wachowski brothers are trying to change history just like they tried to change who they were. And they, just like biologically, they can't change who they are. Guess what? You can't change the meaning of your movie. Because let's go back and see any interviews during that time. And if you weren't saying that it meant it back then you can't say that it means it now. Just putting it out there. Let's see. All right. Golden Ration had a comment, and now the chat has jumped at me over on the YouTube. So let's see. Let us see. Awesome. So no comments for Skip. Fantastic. Let me go ahead and catch up with my D-Laugh fam real quick. Let's see. So D-Laugh fam, Captain Dean High, thank you for the 3 ice cream donations. Captain Mr. Roy, thank you for the 5 ice cream donations. Captain is a caveman, thank you for the ice cream donation. You're going to kill me. Daniel Thorne, thank you for the 1 ice cream donation. Appreciate it. Really, really, really appreciate it. Very, very much so. Thank you. My voice is tired, though, so... Dean Heiss, Captain Dean Heiss, tagging me over on D-Live, says, ever seen 11/22/63? Just started watching it myself, not bad. I think that's on Hulu. I want to say, isn't that based off of a Stephen King novel, I think? It looked interesting at the time. It looked interesting. Daniel Thorne then says, thoughts on the sci-fi movie Seconds by John Frankenheimer? Never heard of it, let alone seen it. So I have no thoughts. I have no thoughts on that, good sir. All right, back over to YouTube where it's 7:40 in the chat, 7:56 where I am, so still about 16 minutes behind. Super says, also, sorry if I asked you before, but do you think Disney cares about piracy anymore? I mean, between stopping the showings of old movies plus this, they're leaving us no choice. Every studio does, to a certain extent. I mean, they still have people on their payroll that is their job to go after copyright. I mean, the fact that YouTubers are still getting hit with copyright claims shows that, yeah, they do care. they still do care. But obviously, it's kind of shifted away from individuals to now going after just whole servers, whole websites, things like that. So, yeah, they still do care. And they're going to do everything they can. You know, obviously, with them releasing Mulan onto Disney Plus for a premium, they're going to do everything they can to try and stop people or make it more difficult. As I saw Robert Frey put the pineapple pizza. Ew, no. Bacon's fine, all right? You can leave the bacon on the pizza, but pineapple, just stop. Tina B says, oh, wow, Odin. Jeff on World Class said he saw that Palm Springs and enjoyed it. Different strokes. Yeah, maybe he is someone that digs nihilism. Again, for some people, nihilism is an enjoyable thing, which is kind of not how that usually goes. Yeah, I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan of it. It wasn't terrible. I'll put it that way. It wasn't terrible, but it also wasn't good. Keely Chow, speaking of Groundhog Day, what do you think of Jeep's Super Bowl commercial? Haven't seen it. I don't think. I can't remember. 13th Warrior tagged and said, I've heard some good things about The Good Place. Did you ever watch it? And if so, what did you think? So my wife got into it and loved it. And I've seen a couple of clips from it, and it looks like it has some... It looks like it has enough that would probably keep me entertained. I use a clip from the show during one of my classes. In fact, it's a class that's coming up. It's one that I use early in the year when talking about a moral situation, a moral problem. So it's one that I might be willing to try. In fact, that one I was able to get for my in-laws because they had been wanting to watch it, and I think it was leaving a service or they weren't going to have access to the service anymore. And someone messed up and put it out, like the whole series, which just came out this year. They put it out for around $15. So obviously I saw that and said, that's a mistake, and bought it immediately. Sure enough, I checked later that day. It was off, and it was starting to be charged for $40, like it probably would have been on sale. But yeah, that was a huge win. I love being able to get things when they have like a decimal error and like they make a mistake like that, because you get it for a good deal. Nikki D, thank you very much for the $5 donation via Streamlabs. And thank you for donating via Streamlabs. Says, do you think future MCU films will rake in $1 billion in their theatrical releases as easily as their predecessors? No, I do not. And that's, I think, going to be the tough thing, right? And that kind of gets into that second point of tonight, like the future of cinema. I think that, and I've mentioned this several times already, right? It seems to be kind of like this broken record approach, but it needs to be said because it's not being talked about enough, I think. And that is that the box office is forever changed. You know, even though we have international box office opening up now, and now seemingly local box office, or rather, you know, chain box office opening up with New Mutants officially being allowed to be sold for tickets, but how long is that going to last? Who knows? I don't think we're going to see ever the box office numbers that we saw previously. That being said, we now have new revenue streams that we didn't have, or we didn't have nearly as quickly or as much logistical information on to be able to say anything about. What I mean by that is now we have PVOD, and now we have these deals being made between studios and theaters. Obviously, AMC and Universal have it where movies out for 3 weeks, and then it goes to PVOD. We don't know the impact that that's going to have on movie sales. We don't know the impact that that's going to have on the bottom line for the theater chains. So theater chains could potentially, or rather, studios could still be making roughly the same amount of money, right? Hundreds of millions of dollars in net profit, but it's going to be nearly impossible for us who follow, for me at least, right? People that follow box office numbers to really be able to say one way or the other, right? So basically records as we knew it beforehand, the numbers that we were used to seeing, not just from MCU, but from all big budget films. Yeah, that's done, right? That's gone for the most part. Now, does that mean that you're never going to see $1 billion movie again? Not necessarily. It's going to be very hard, though, especially in the first year or two, to see it get to that place, I would argue. So thank you, Nikki D, for the $5 donation. I appreciate it, and hopefully that answers the question. Harwick says, for me, the season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with Ghost Rider Season 4 was when the show got really good. It was Robert Reyes, but he was well done, and there was a Johnny Blaze cameo. Again, names don't mean much to me, because I don't really know much about the comic lore. Super says, regarding the boys, comment typo meant modern in addition to making Storefront a woman. They want her to use social media like modern Yahtzee, supposedly. Yeah, that's going to get annoying real quickly if that's the case. Mega Jeremy says, I consider woke and diversity to be separate. Woke is forced and natural diversity, while diversity is natural diversity, if organic and logical. Well, it also has nothing really to do with diversity. It's identity politics and politics in general, right? And that just means, okay, I'm watching this to escape, right? It's escapism. I want to be distracted from the craziness of our modern world. And it's like what they did with Watchmen, for instance, right? They took a story and then they decided to say, oh, let's go ahead and add in some political stories that have nothing to do with the original comic, that have nothing to do with the original world, but we're going to put it in there because we want to have modern politics there. So again, that can be forced diversity, that can be just political messaging added into stuff. So it doesn't have to just be diversity itself. So I usually don't say it because, again, diversity is a concept, right? It's a simple concept of, oh, there are diverse people of diverse backgrounds. Unfortunately, usually not of diverse opinions, not of diverse thoughts. It's interesting that that's the one bit of diversity that never seems to get any attention whatsoever. But yeah, it's again the politicization where we find things get problematic. Let's see. Bruce is a member, says, I love Tron, and I wanted to love Tron 2. Though it was a bit of a miss. I can still rewatch it. Yeah, Tron 2 just didn't really live up to what it could have been. That being said, the person that made Tron 2, but that was behind it, did go on to do Oblivion, and Oblivion was fantastic. I think if he was given full control and was able to do another Tron movie, I think it would be better. Nathan Slay says, me when wokeness tries to sneak its way into movies, you shall not pass. Absolutely. Dean Heiss is a member. Hail to you. Glad to see you here. Lord Toth is laughing. Hopefully not at me. Omega Jeremy says, Beetleborgs is a 90s show that is basically Power Rangers, but with 3 kids turning into robot cyborg warrior superheroes that fight monsters. So basically Power Rangers, but not. Never heard of that ever before. I grew up in the 90s too. Nathan Slay, I know some people who are upset with political crap in Hollywood that say they won't even give them a dime. I, on the other hand, say that there are good movies that I wish to support. Yeah, and also, like, because I've been on that side of it, right, where it's like, let's just totally cut them off. But then you realize, wow, that means that literally there are several other things that you didn't even think of before that also need to go. And I don't want to completely isolate myself from new stuff because, as I said, there's some new stuff that can be pretty good. Tippy Tail McKitty, glad to see you in the chat once again. Fluttershy stays high. Okay. Welcome to the chat. Latino Slant is a member. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hardwick says, I understand why theaters have to change so much to get by, but when studios owned theaters and got every slice of the pie, they had no need to overcharge and the customers benefited. But again, as I said before, it still doesn't change the fact that you were putting the blame on theaters. And it's a good thing that the theaters broke away from the studios because that's too much centralized power in general. So yeah, you might be paying less overall, but keep this in mind. If that had never changed, do you honestly think that movie studios with an obsession with profits wouldn't have automatically raised the prices of drinks and soft drinks and ticket prices alone? Again, I think that it's kind of a straw man. Let's see. Emilios Comics, it's a new name. Welcome to the chat. Matter of fact, thanks for tagging me, says, why does Hollywood insist on limiting itself to woke storylines when there is already a lack of material due to originality being dead? I don't know, man. I really don't. Because it's sad because there's a hunger out there for content. There is a hunger out there for new ideas, for new stories. But for some reason, Hollywood, and at least big studios, it seems, doesn't want to focus their attention on it. And anything they do get that's new or that's different, they have to tweak in some ways, and it turns a lot of people off. For instance, Matthew Kadish, who's been on the channel before, good guy, he actually put a tweet out saying not to bother with a new Netflix show, which was basically King Arthur, but it was going into the origins of the Lady of the Lake. Right, so it was going into the origins of Nimue. And Nimue, of course, is a witch in the lore of King Arthur. And I was like, that actually, some people attacked it right away and said, oh, they're trying to retcon and change it. But I read it and said, no, to me, it looks like they're trying to go into the history of a different character in the story. And I'm okay with that. Apparently, it's not good, though, which is sad. So even when they have, like, interesting concepts and ideas, they still can't get it right. Sad. Slicer says, Fox is over the hill midlife crisis mutants. Yeah, pretty much. At this point, it might as well be called that. Hardwick, speaking of Groundhog Day, one of the recent episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was a time loop episode directed by Elizabeth Henstridge Simmons on the show. It was very well done. Well, again, I'm not watching it, so... Thanatos Felicitas says, I would recommend The Last Unicorn, 1982, animated Mia Farrow, Jeff Bridges, and Angela Lansbury, Christopher Lee, music by America. Interesting. Yeah, I've never seen Last Unicorn. I don't think I've heard of it before either. Nathan Slay, when would you say the Academy started to be controversial and start nominating movies that were political? It's done it for a long, I think Tino probably have a better idea about that. I mean, keep in mind, Hollywood has been political for a long time. For me, though, it became unbearable probably around 2009, 2010. That's when it started to get really bad, where it wasn't just the movies, but it was like every second was political on stage. To me, the biggest problem, the pinnacle of it all that made me get to the point where I was like, okay, this is stupid, I'm done, was when the Best Picture award, right? Normally you have a Hollywood legend come out. You have maybe the winner or the director or the writer, someone big that was attached to the previous year's winner. When they decided to let, was it Michelle Obama from the White House announce the winner, at that point I was like, yeah, I'm done. Because that was such a tying together of politics and movies, right? Hollywood and literally the White House. I was like, no, this is, I'm done. I want to say that was the moment for me when I was like, okay, I've been able to put up with some of this nonsense for a while, but I was over. I forget what year that was that happened, but that's kind of the year where I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm out of here. Because they've always been political. Mega Jeremy, wait, I just thought of a new Netflix show you could watch. You can watch Transformers Siege War of the Cybertron. It was pretty good. Yeah, some people have mentioned that, but I'm not really a Transformers fan. Like, that's not really a part of my wheelhouse. 13th Warrior says, Ragnar Lothbrok was the character Travis Fimmel played in Vikings. All right, never watched Vikings. I tried watching one episode, and I couldn't get into it. So that's why that meant very little to me. Andrew Oil says, you're the Norse Allfather. You don't know who one of the most famous Vikings in history is? How dare you? Well, I'm not an actual Viking, so it shouldn't be that surprising. Oh, man. Lord Toad says, Gordon's alive. Latino Slant, Odin, Tax Collector, #1 movies this weekend, brother, was a decent action flick. Tax Collector, really? I heard of it. Never actually. Is that the one with Shia LaBeouf? Is that the one that has Shia LaBeouf in it? Haven't seen it. Hybrid X13, hey, brother, what do you think would happen if the alien in the Thing movie, John Carpenter, reached mainland outside of Antarctica? You think humanity would have been doomed? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Are you kidding me? Did you see what that thing did just to a small group of people? Imagine that creature doing it to an entire population. It'd be crazy. Mega Jeremy, I just remember that Canada had made a Flash Gordon TV series from the early 2000s. You might like, but I don't know where you can watch. It's not on Netflix. Yeah, I mean, I have most of the streaming services, but yeah, if it's not somewhere I can watch it easily, probably wouldn't be something I would watch. Nathan Slay, I swear that I will go nuts if I see a new Batman release on the poster with the words The Dark Knight on it. They would not remake that movie. Give it 10 years. That's all I'm going to say. Give it 10 years. Don't never say never in Hollywood. Never, ever, ever say never in Hollywood. I Spy Guy, that's a new name. Welcome to the channel. Mano Merc, I see you in the channel as well. All right, chat has jumped on me. So let's go ahead and go back up and see where we left off. All right, so it looks like no comments were skipped. Fantastic. Let's go back to D-Live for a minute. And let's see, we're at about an hour and 15, so we still got about maybe 10 more minutes or so. Let's see, though, where we are in the D-Live chat. Philly the Hobbit says, your thoughts on lead actress Christine Milioti in Palm Springs. Kristen Milioti, actually, so for those who don't know her as an actress, she was the one that ended up being the mother in How I Met Your Mother. But I actually got to see her on Broadway. She was in the original Broadway cast of Once. And she's fantastic. She's very talented. She has a beautiful singing voice. She can play piano, actually, too. So actually, I got to meet her. I did the stage door for the show. And she's very nice, very sweet. It was actually hilarious because she's so tiny. And so at one point, like, she was taking pictures with a bunch of us. And then I want to say, like, I forget exactly what happened. But I want to say she, like, hopped the barricade to be able to get into to the picture properly. So she was awesome. So, yeah, I think she's a very talented actress. So she was, again, acting-wise, she was great in that movie for Palm Springs. But the story I just wasn't a big fan of. Camden High says, will you be getting Back to the Future 4K when it comes out in October? Story, if you talked about this before. No problem, dude. I'm on a list that gets random where I can make requests for products to do reviews on. And so I made a request for it. So if I don't get it, because I usually don't get those things. I've gotten a few things in the past. But if I don't get it, then I might. However, the Blu-ray set I have is like the 25th anniversary collection or 30th anniversary collector's edition. So it has like the animated series that doesn't even have the actual actors doing the voices, which I was like, that's nice to have. But it has the 3 movies on Blu-ray. The transfers are really, really good. In fact, I talked about this with John Flickinger on our podcast that we do on each other's channels for our Patreon Subscribe-Star members and YouTube members. And he made a good point. He said, I don't know if I would ever want to get it because the Blu-ray transfers are really good. And even on a 4K TV, the transfers look fantastic. So really, unless you're looking for HDR, which can sometimes be good for a movie and sometimes not look good for a movie. The 1080p edition that we have is already a good transfer. So I might skip out on it, especially at least at first when it's that price, just because, again, I love physical media, but I already own the series. So, and the Blu-ray is by far is fantastic. Like the Blu-ray cut that we already have is great. All right. Now back over to YouTube. 7:55 over there in YouTube. It's 8:15 where I am, so 20 minutes behind, just about where we normally are. All right, so waiting for Nerdrotic. Laura says, watch Zach's Hairspray fun. Yeah, he is in Hairspray. And that movie overall, not my favorite. Just not my favorite movie. However, Zac Efron's good in it. However, I would say comparing it to the Broadway version, the actor that they had to play Seaweed in the movie, so much better than anything I've ever seen in a stage version. Just for singing alone. Super Anime Gamer tagged me and said, not saying I agree, but technically, couldn't we say Fight Club is the best woke movie? Reason being the original author is a postmodernist and meant it as a masculinity commentary. Well, again, I guess it depends on how you define it, right? Because to me, I don't know. The way the movie is presented, there definitely is some messaging in there. I just don't think it really hits you over the head. I guess that's kind of the differentiation I make is, does it try and hit you over the head, or does it try and tell you a good story? And does it do a better job at telling you a good story where it can distract you away from any messaging? Nathan Slay tagged me and says, I really do think that Die Hard and Aliens and T2 are untouchable and should not be remade. Well, when you think about it, right, Terminator has had so many different sequels and, different variations. It's already essentially been touched. Aliens, the story has already, again, gone off in random directions. And then, of course, Die Hard has already had several sequels, some good, some not. So, yeah, even though they haven't been remade, I think the sequels kind of already did those in a little bit. I Spy Guy, thanks for tagging me, says, as a person who has lost an eye due to an accident, I feel that I am underrepresented in popular media. Can you think of some positive characters that are monocular? Well, obviously, Odin would be one. Odin would be one. So, if Marvel films that feature Anthony Hopkins, Odin, boom, you got right there. So, yeah, that would be one that I could think of off the top of my head. Pretty on the nose, but still. Omega Jeremy, how does James Wood thrive without Hollywood money? Why can't Terry Crews and other Hollywood celebs do the same as James Woods and start leaving Hollywood behind? Again, because everyone's different, right? Everyone's different. Everyone has different perspectives and different motivations. And sometimes, hey, James Woods might have taken that money and invested it. And if he was smart with his money and he invested it, he might not have to worry about getting roles again, So some people can leave it behind. Golden Ration says, Tenet releasing in South Korea on August 26th. That's right. Okay, yeah. So it's releasing in certain locations internationally on August 26th. And then a week later, that's right, a week later, it's been a while. A week later, it's then coming out in select U.S. theaters or North American theaters. So doesn't mean that's necessarily going to be coming to us right away, depending on where you are. Nathan Slay tagged said, Dear Hollywood, please, 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 please don't remake Jaws. Oh, they've technically tried to with just different variations using CGI. It hasn't worked. Dean Approved tagged and says, would you recommend Umbrella Academy Season 2? Is it good despite woke stuff, or is it a drudge? I think that if you like Season 1, you like Season 2, I think. There is enough brilliant writing in Season 2 to overcome the nonsense political stuff, I think. And the ending of Season 2 especially is mind-blowing. And I think done very well. So that's what I'll say about that. I don't want to go too much into spoiler territory. Jeremy Swiggs tagged me and said, I find this stream problematic due to lack of a species diversity. Where are Willow and River? Also, if I haven't told you lately, you complete me. Well, thank you, Jeremy Swiggs. River and Willow are spending time with Mama upstairs. So sometimes they're cuddling with her and sleeping. And it's like, I'm not gonna disrupt that. So I doubt they'll be down here by the time that she ends up heading to bed, because I usually get off before then. But if they do come down, obviously I'll put them on to the doggy cam. Mega Jeremy, why don't we hear from Olivia Wilde anymore? Isn't she woke? Wouldn't that get her a lot of roles these days? I find it strange she isn't more active in the woke age of movies. Well, again, sometimes people don't get hired, right? Sometimes people have different priorities. It's hard to say. I don't follow her personal life. So super says, and the thing about the original Watchmen comic is that it was already political, but it was subtle and nuanced. The HBO show, by contrast, just wanted to beat you over the head. And I think that's the difference between woke and non-woke, right? Is whether it tries to hit you over the head with it or whether it just tries to tell you a good story and maybe has it in that underneath aspect, right? For sure. Absolutely. Good point. Very good point. Roof, how do you pronounce it? Roof Korea 92 says Odin. Welcome to the chat, good sir. George Morales II. What's going on? Harwick says, have you seen season 3 of Daredevil? If so, what are your thoughts on it? I liked all 3 seasons of Daredevil on Netflix. They were all solid. Tina B says, yeah, the Lady of the Lake has an interesting history, but don't call it King Arthur and focus only on her. And Tina, I don't think they did they? I forget what the name of the show was. I didn't think they did name it King Arthur though. I want to say they named it Lady of the Lake or something like that. I could be wrong, but yeah, if they name something King Arthur, like flat out just King Arthur, then yeah, that's going to be problematic if you focus. It's kind of like the controversy with The Witcher, right? It's called The Witcher, and yet it focused a lot more on the female character instead. However, I don't know. I think it did it well enough and balanced it well enough where it was bearable for me. Not for everyone, but I can understand people criticizing that, though. Soul Assassin tagged and says, check out Sam Neill Merlin miniseries. It's good. Do you mean Merlin that was on BBC? I like that one. I like Merlin that was BBC. I know that some people are going to say, oh, but that one featured a person of color as Guinevere. Didn't bother me because she was a good actress. So, sorry, not sorry. HyperNext13 tagged. I think like Lucasfilm, someone with a non-woke mindset should create their own studio and set their original ideas. Sure, they'll be an underdog, but I think it would be worth it. It's just, to me, I think it's so hard to do that in modern day Hollywood. You have to understand like how much money it takes to start your own studio, to start your own production company, right? The only people that do it are the established studios that make other smaller studios like subsidiaries and big Hollywood actors with millions and millions of dollars. So if that's where you need to start to make a production company that's going to get movies out into big theater chains, I mean, it's going to get tough to get that out there. Slice Neon says, cursed, and yeah, it is trash. Woke rewrite again. Arthur, Merlin, the white men are losers. Women are the real heroes. So much. I was shaking my head. Okay, so that is why it's bad. Yeah, so it's called Cursed. So if it's called Cursed, to me, then it could have been good. Like, again, focusing more so on different characters instead of Arthur, being called Cursed instead of King Arthur, I think works. That's just my take, though. Omega Jeremy, how long do you think it'll be until Hollywood completely falls and we get a replacement that will actually give non-woke entertainment? Never, to be honest. Nothing's ever it's never gonna fully go away. I mean, it's something that ebbs and flows over time. Andrew Hoy's member says, I saw the trailer for Curse and looked trash, so just rewatched Excalibur. Nice. Jeremy Swiggs, we need an Odin question fix. What do you mean an Odin question fix? Slice of Neon's Last Unicorn is great. Watched the film and read the book. Interesting. Good to know. Good to know. As Andrew Hoyle says, what? Sorry. Was that about me saying I hadn't seen Vikings? Or didn't like it after one episode? I just couldn't get into it. I just couldn't get into it, my friend. Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. All right, so the chat has jumped on me again. But luckily, it looks like things are slowing down a bit. That's always a good thing. I like when things slow down. Means I can take my time with it. Gets chill, right? Just nice and chill. Let's go ahead and jump over to D-Live, though. Yeah. D-Live is just chilling. Thank you, D-Live fam. D-Live fam, when I say chill, they're like, all right, we'll sit back. We'll enjoy the show. I love my D-Live fam. They're great. Omega Jeremy, what would happen if the alien from The Thing absorbed Brie Larson? I'm just going to stop there. Sasha Neon's last I checked, Amazon Prime has a big catalog of Flash Gordon material. Nice. Very cool. Hardwick, I highly recommend the 3 1930s Flash Gordon serials. The effects are primitive, but the casting and sets are fantastic, and they were George Lucas's biggest inspiration for Star Wars. Don't know where I'd be able to watch that. All right, I'm going to start skipping comments because some people are putting 1,000 different comments and questions like, hey, I understand it, but come on. Sometimes sometimes it's just ludicrous. Super says Guts from Berserk also has one eye, and that series is amazing. Boom, there you go. Blake St. Clair, what's going on, good sir? Glad to see you back. Ensign Ricky, how is it going, good sir? Nathan Slay, I'm personally very happy that Will Ferrell refused to do an Elf sequel despite being offered a lot of money. Yes, because the first Elf film is perfectly fine the way it is. 13th Warrior, is the character on your microphone Hawkman or the Angel Maroney? Hawkman, of course. Dive! It's Brian Blessed, of course. Of course. Harwick, Cameron Diaz retired a few years ago without making an announcement. She recently talked about it. She says now more at peace and can now take time to take care of herself. Yeah, I mean, when you've made enough money, again, if you're smart with it, you don't need to do it for your entire life. Tina says, oh, if it's called Lady in the Lake, then yeah, that works. I never heard of it. So apparently it's called Cursed. So Yennefer, Latino Slant said. That's right. The Yennefer controversy. Of course, the Yennefer controversy. Again, I wasn't as bothered by it, but I'm also someone that never played the games. So I was like, okay, it's called The Witcher. I get that. And I'm getting mostly Witcher. I got a lot of Henry Cavill, and it was great, and I enjoyed it. The actress that played Yennefer, though, was very talented. So, for her, I had more of a problem with the unnecessary nudity stuff. Again, typical things and issues that I have with shows like that than I did with the focus on her character. Harvey X13, I remember seeing David Beckham as a cameo in that King Arthur movie. His voice was so out of place, I expect a rough voice from him. Which King Arthur movie was he in? I don't remember that. I don't remember that one bit. All right. Cool. Y'all are slowing down, and I appreciate it very, very much. Appreciate it. All right, then let us see. Where did we leave off? All right. Tina says, context Guy Ritchie's Arthur movie. Ah, yes. I knew Beckham was going to be in it, and I was still laughing when he opened his mouth. Who thought that was a good idea? I never saw Guy Ritchie's Arthur movie. I think it's because I heard bad things about it. I'll tell you one thing. I really like the King Arthur movie that came out, was it 10 years ago, with Clive Owen as Arthur, or Artorias. The cast in that movie is great. It's a different take on the story. There's so many great actors in it. Like when you look to the cast of that King Arthur movie, you're like, oh my gosh, like there's some actors that since then have made a name for themselves in a wide variety of projects. So that King Arthur movie, I love. I was a huge fan. I saw that film many times in theaters. Nathan Slade, do you know a girl named Martha? Oh, yes. I actually do. Jeremy Swiggs, he may have one eye, but the drummer from Def Leppard only got one arm. Oh Lord. A25, Tina Prue says, boy. I wish I could do the deepness of that, of that actor's voice from that game. It's fantastic. Sasha Neons, just checking. Did you know Brian Blessed voiced Boss Nass in episode 1? Yes, I did. Sorry, at first I was like, Boss Nass. I always forget, the leader of the Gundams. I always forget, why am I saying Gundams? Like Gundam wings. The Gungans. Sorry, the Gungans. Yes, I always forget his name, though. Bruce says, slow down. Hardwick, correcting me. I hate when people do that. You misunderstood the question from 13th Warrior. He was thinking of DC's superhero Hawkman. Voltan is not the same he was thinking of. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because this is still not that character. So, tagging me to correct me. Let him do it himself. You don't have to do it on anyone else's behalf. Come on, man. Lord. Jeremy Swiggs, a lot from that King Arthur movie did Star Wars. Love that movie also. Yeah, yes. For sure. All right, Captain Nice over on D-Lab says, I prefer Arthur with Dudley Moore. I don't think I've ever seen that. Dudley Moore. I don't think I've seen that, actually. All right, well, we are now caught up with everyone, and we're at time. So, hey, everybody. Thank you for being here. As I said early in the stream, again, sorry I haven't been making a whole lot of content, but again, when work is busy, work takes the priority, obviously. Also, I sometimes, again, with everything going on with family, everything too, again, I fall behind on various things, so it happens. But thank you for being here this evening, and thank you very much for supporting the stream and for dropping and smashing the like button. Again, the fact that we still have 76 people here, again, is a huge deal for me. So thank you again for making this night awesome and for us being able to have a lot of fun. 13th Warrior, stepping up for himself, says, I must confess my question was a really sarcastic reference to the angel who was the guardian of the golden plates containing the Book of Mormon. Boom. Yeah. So, you see, that's why, 13th Warrior, you're the one that should have clarified. Because when someone else tries to do it on your own behalf and they get it wrong, and again, you call me out and correct me, and then the correction that you make's not even correct, that just makes me even more angry. That just makes me even more angry. I'm already tired enough, man. I don't have time for this. Ain't nobody got time for that, man. Drive me crazy. Hardwick, you drive me crazy. You leave 1,000 comments and then you correct me, man. Come on. Bro. But thank you, 13th Warrior, for explaining. Yes, the Book of Mormon. I got the golden plates. If you've never seen the play or musical Book of Mormon, I recommend it. It's very, very fun. Thank you, 13th Warrior. I needed that. As Josiah rises. Dude, Josiah rises. The fact that you are able to get off your throne to come down to the lowly person that is I and drop not only a $10 super chat, but also a heart makes me so happy. I feel like I have not talked to you, Josiah, in forever. Ever since we stopped doing videos ever since the video schedule changed because of the box office just dying and me not being able to do breakdowns every Sunday, I feel like I never talked to you anymore, man. Dude, congratulations. Your channel has been on fire. You're a month away from 100K? At least at this pace that you're currently going at, dude. Weren't you at up to 60 or 70,000 subscribers? Either way, dude, congratulations and thank you for stopping by. As I said, I'm not worthy, man. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. JKD Buck says, have a great evening. Thank you very well. Latino Slant says, be well. Bruce, who's a member, says, be well. Thank you very much. Thank you. You're awesome. Dina Prue says, thanks for another awesome live stream. Always look forward to it. Hey, always a good time. I'm glad that my voice held out. Dude, yeah, Josiah Rises is awesome. Dude has been killing it. Man. If you're not subbed to him yet, you better, because eventually you will be. Because as I said, he's on fire, growing like crazy. But anyway, thank you so very much for being here. My D-Live fam for being here. My YouTube fam for being here. Thank you and huge shout out to Stephanie B and Tina, my Valks, for always being here, always keeping everyone in check. Might have to put some more restrictions on certain people. We'll talk. I think you have an idea of where I am with that. But anyway, thank you all so very much for being here and for showing some love. Peabody says, I'm just off. I am just off 100 myself. I jumped to 95 subs on Sunday. Boom. Nice, man. Peabody jumping up. Getting to that 100 sub love. Glad to hear it, Peabody. So thank you so much for being here, everybody. Thank you to all the YouTube peeps. I do need to, of course, shout out my YouTube members who are at the Army of Asgard level and up. Again, it is a part of the perks if you are a YouTube member as the Army of Asgard or Keeper of the Bifrost level. You get a shout out at the end of every live stream. So a huge shout out to Eric K, Orange Chat Reviews, Bruce, Adam Avery, Latino Slant, Larry, The Bosco 2000, Twirly Wolf, Jay Stowe, and Aiden Vickery. Thank you very much. And also, someone who for some reason with Patreon, they processed it like 7 days late or something. He's not in my video, and he's been a member for a long time on Patreon. Shout out to Outpost Dyer. I know he's been very busy. He released a novel since the last time I talked with him, and yeah. So Outpost Dyer, I don't know if you're going to watch this back or not, man, but I want to shout you out because you are a supporter. You've been a supporter for a long time, and you're not in the video because, again, when I was looking at the members, it hadn't charged you until a week later. And then finally, when I looked back, I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. It's like I thought someone was missing from the list, and it was because of that. But anyway, dude, you guys are freaking awesome. I love you guys. Shout out to the Valks, as always. D-Live fam, y'all stick around. I'll take care of y'all like I normally do. Thank you to everyone that donated tonight. Thank you to everyone that watched tonight. Smash the like button. You're all amazing, beautiful people. I love you guys so much. I hope to make more video content for you guys. Hope my voice is able to hold out at some point because it's already tired. I didn't think I was going to be able to get through this tonight, but you guys are awesome. Love you guys from the bottom of my heart. See you guys next time. And as always, God bless. And now a huge shout out to all of my August Patreon and Subscribestar members. Starting on Patreon, Albertus Magnus, Animation Commentator, Brian P., David Bobrizik, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, Hail Father, Father Damian Cook, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Wiener Dog Clan, Harold Francis, the Hunka Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toon, Jonathan Carney, Kenneth Cameo, Lady T, Laura Story, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, and Tina B., my Valkyrie and Empress of the Universe. Thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon. And also, shout out to my Subscribestar peeps, Stand For, John B., Perpetual Punster, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, Darkstar57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, Harold Francis, J-Rod the Beer Guru, Nebadon G. Adams, and ZK Man. Thank you all so very much for supporting me this month. You guys are freaking awesome. If you want your name shouted out at the end of every single video and live stream, and also if you want to have access to special perks like giveaways and an exclusive podcast that I do with fellow YouTuber John the Flick Pig Flickinger, please check out Patreon, Subscribestar, and YouTube memberships in the links below. You guys are all awesome. I love you to death. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.